Hello and welcome to the Education on Fire show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm assuming you can hear me okay. Please do put a thumbs up or a hello in the comments and let me know that you can hear and see okay. The main reason for saying that is I've been in London all day doing or facilitating a podcast workshop for the London School of Public Relations. And so the great thing about that is I have a fantastic time, but the slightly downside to that is I had to take some of the studio with me in terms of doing all the sort of hands-on stuff. So I've come back and put it all together. All seems to be working fine, but it's always great to know that you can hear and see and everything is coming through as we're expecting to. So yeah, a thumbs up or just a hello would be fantastic so that we can actually get to see that. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're excited about Halloween coming up. I know my kids are certainly getting in the kind of the semi-festive, I guess if you could call it, depending on how you look at Halloween and the seasons going through. So yeah, really appreciate you being here. If you do have a question, please do write a Q colon before your question. That way I can sort of filter out the difference between the comments and the questions. Alex is going to very kindly answer anything and be able to sort of fill in any gaps that we don't manage to do just by our conversation. So yeah, do put that in the chat at any time, and then I can bring those up as and when we're able to make that work, which is going to be fantastic. Brilliant. And I see the National Association for Primary Education are here and they can see and hear us. Thank you. It's fantastic, and really appreciate you taking the time, and I will look forward to being able to share some of those things coming up. So, as always, this is what we're here to do. We're going to share this week's podcast. I'll be really interested if you've heard it to share any of your thoughts or any of your takeaways. Get a chance to share your work as well. If you've got something you're working on or something you'd like to share, a resource that you're working on, please do that as well. We can try and share that as we go through. We're probably not going to get to Education News of the Week because we've got so much to get through from everything that Alex is going to be sharing, which is amazing. And of course, interviewing guests, we're now sort of booked up through into December, which is fantastic. So we're going to have a sort of a guest on every week, apart from the 1 week when I'm going to do a pre-recorded one because I have a school concert that I have to attend to, but I'll talk to you about that in the next week or so when that's going to be coming up. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about BBC Teach, and I'm really excited to be able to take you sort of behind the scenes about how that was working, how it's put together, what it is that Alex has been able to put together to support all those people working in schools, which is a really exciting prospect. Now, for those of you who haven't actually taken the chance to sort of follow or subscribe to the podcast, this is the place to go no matter what platform you'd like to listen on. Go to educationonfire.com/listen. That takes you to this page, and from here you can directly go through to the platform you like the most. Follow, and then that way all the latest episodes get downloaded straight to your device, and then you won't miss anything which is going through. In terms of this channel, it's always really fantastic if you can subscribe and also hit that notification bell. That way, if we go live at any point when you weren't expecting, you'll get notified of that as well, because it might be something that we do, especially as we get up towards Christmas, actually have the opportunity to be able to maybe do the odd off-the-cuff YouTube video as well, which I'll be really excited to do, and yeah, share maybe some festive fun as we go through it that particular way. So what was the episode that went live today? As you can see, 366 shows have now been put on the audio podcast, which is amazing. We've been going since 2016. And this was a really, really special conversation with Louise. Little Troopers, which is a charity that supports service children. Really, really important thing, and something which is a really came out of their experience. Louise was in the forces, her husband been in the forces, and so the charity was done to really the sorts of things that she'd like to be able to support her child going through. I do suggest that you go and click on the website. The main reason being, you can see at the top there that they have their Christmas Smiles 2023 boxes, which they're trying to get some money for. You can donate there, so do go and check that out, because obviously the more we can support all these things, the more we're going to be helping as many children as we possibly can. So without further ado, Alex, let's get talking. Let's talk about everything to do with BBC Teach. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time this evening.
Thanks for having me, and 366 shows. That's quite a feat. Congratulations.
Thank you. It only seems like yesterday until you sort of think about all the ones that you've done. But yeah, no, it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed the whole experience.
Hey, that's awesome.
So why don't we start with how you got involved in the BBC, sort of your role within it? It's always great to sort of hear that little sort of journey to the education interest to be able to make such an amazing resource.
Yeah, I guess it starts in school really fittingly, and I was kind of bitten by the media bug when I was at school. I took part in I grew up in the southeast, and I took part in Eastbourne Youth Radio, which was a kind of an outreach project with the local college, and you could come in and write a little sports report, a news report, or create whatever kind of pop show or whatever you wanted to do. So I got involved with that at a young age, and although I wasn't necessarily thinking I'll work in radio, it kind of just took me on that media journey. I got interested in journalism. When I was at university, I got into the student TV and radio and all that kind of thing, and it kind of led me down this path of working for the BBC. um, Alongside that, although I should say straight away, I've never been a teacher, I've always been involved with schools. I volunteered with our uni's outreach program called Mind Out, and we used to go to local secondary schools and run critical thinking and philosophy workshops in schools. I did a community sports leadership award, which kind of involved going in and setting up PE sessions and things like that. And a bit later, when I graduated, I worked at a science centre. It was a kind of a hands-on science place where you could come in, explore the exhibit, see these big telescopes that we had there. And we used to put on science shows, and we used to go and visit schools for their summer play schemes and things like that. So this kind of education on one track and media on the other, and it's kind of led me to this path where I am today, working with BBC Teach.
And it's amazing how that kind of works. People sort of ask about my journey into the education field, as it were. And as we were chatting just before we came on air, I'm a musician by training, went to music college, and sort of got into it through sort of teaching music and that kind of thing. But one of the things that I always remember is one of the programs I was doing with my education company, probably around 2009, 2010, we put on a Second World War concert, and the idea was kind of bringing both of our worlds together. So we had a professional band which I fixed and performed in, and my business partner at the time was head of music at a prep school in London. And so we kind of formulated this thing. So what we decided to do was to bring loads of schools together and have like a massed choir. So we created all the resources, got them to learn all the songs, brought them together at a theatre with the band as well. It was such an amazing thing. I'm so glad that we managed to pull it off. But the sort of the story around that was the fact we had to go on to sort of local radio and kind of help publicize all these things. And there was suddenly something about, like, here, sat behind a microphone, I thought, I don't know what it is about this, but I quite enjoy it, not knowing that, sort of 6 or 7 years later, I'd spend an awful lot of my time literally sat behind a microphone talking to lots of people. So it's funny, isn't it, how you have a sense of something, even though you don't know that whole sort of journey moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think like music is such a hook for that, isn't it? You can you'll end up going down all sorts of avenues if you're into your music. And similarly, radio, as part of my career at the BBC, I've been involved with radio, and I've always preferred it more than working in TV. Like there's just so much less faff. TV is full of faff, whereas if you work in radio, you can, well, you're doing it now. You put up a mic, you plug in and you're away. So yeah, big fan of audio.
Take me into what your sort of day to day looks like, because executive producer sounds like, I don't know, lots of meetings. Is it lots of brainstorming? Is it kind of setting a ball rolling and allowing people to run with it? What does that sort of look like from your perspective?
Yeah, all of the above, I suppose. I suppose the best executive producers might be able to, yeah, set everything up and let the creatives run with it. I'm not quite sure I'm there yet. I think I'm still finding my feet. I think I'm still poking myself into a few places where I'm not wanted in that respect, and getting too involved. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm responsible for the BBC Teach website, and that is at its core a kind of vast archive of free classroom videos. So we have thousands on there. Some of them are very old. Some of them were part of the Learning Zone, which used to broadcast overnight on BBC Two. So I've kind of inherited that archive. But a lot of the content is very new, and we commission production teams to go and make content every year. We work with program makers in other BBC departments every year. So the kind of the best of my role is working out what we need, to provide with teachers in the UK, where we can kind of contribute videos to help them deliver their lessons, and to set those relationships up, to see the scripts coming in, to make sure they're looking all right, to see, people filming and see how that's all shaping together, and then eventually getting this all together and publishing it online. So that kind of creative aspect is the bit I love. Lots of meetings as well, as you say.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've really enjoyed seeing is that some of the people that I know who are sort of have a voice within education in terms of sort of notoriety, or people that have sort of got a profile, as it were, being involved in some of the videos that you've done, and some of the resources that you've done. So that sort of cross sort of bridging that gap, I guess I'm trying to say, between sort of classroom teachers and the BBC providing what they do, which I think is fascinating. And also, I guess it's that sort of link with what you're needing to help provide from a curriculum point of view, but also the fact that there's more to the, education than just the curriculum. So it's sort of finding, I guess, where that happy medium is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because as I've said at the start, I'm not a teacher. I'm a producer of content. I kind of have an editorial view on things, and some of the team did used to be teachers, or have a bit more experience in that respect. But it's very much about working with real teachers, if I can put it bluntly, people at the coalface, people who have been at the coalface and can consult in that capacity. So we're always talking with, consulting with, I don't know, subject associations, teaching groups, yeah, the people that you refer to, and yeah, it's about pulling that information together and kind of thinking about where can video contribute, because we certainly don't with BBC Teach want to just put on a lesson or replace a lesson or try and recreate in video something a teacher's going to do much better. So it's really about finding that place that we can contribute to a classroom experience, to a lesson. And I suppose, to borrow the tagline of this whole project, to really kind of set it on fire a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? It's a way of bringing these things together. And I'm sort of showing my age now, but that sense of one of the things we used to love, especially early in primary school, was the walking to the TV room and watching a program,
Yeah,
often a BBC production about
yeah.
various things. But there's sort of an event in that, isn't there? Because it's not something that you can recreate directly in class. The production values in the content isn't something that you can find anywhere else. And so I think it does have that sense of something different, even in this day and age when you can access it, of course, on different devices.
Yeah, I always say BBC Teach is the modern version of that experience of going to the TV room, or for me, it was having the TV wheeled in, and then the teachers trying to like whiz through the VHS that's been recorded the night before, trying to find the right spot. It's kind of the modern version of that. Obviously, online now, it's really a digital experience. But yeah, I mean, there are teachers are best at the end of the day, like, and there's no end to their creativity in terms of where can they make those links and what can they do. But there are certain things that a video can show you that just can't be done. It might be a large scale science experiment that would be too dangerous or would be too costly to resource, or a trip round a mountain range, or whatever it is. There's obviously things where video can add a bit of value to a lesson there, and
Yeah.
now you can literally just hit play on the website rather than try and find the right bit on the video.
Yeah, exactly. Or open up the I'm trying to think, the very early days I can remember them opening up the wooden box as they wheeled it in to sort of
Yeah,
show the screen. But yeah, fantastic. Good
I love
memories
it.
anyway. I wasn't expecting to go down that little route at that time.
The nostalgia power is unreal.
Exactly.
5 or 6 years ago, when I started working for BBC Teach, we were celebrating 60 years of schools TV, and the radio broadcasts were happening even before that. So there's always something, whether it's look and read or whatever. There's always a program somewhere that you can just feel in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk in about some of the things that are actually obviously currently going on
Yeah.
within BBC Teach. So let's start with 500 words, because I know that's very current at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's so much fun. It's such a privilege to have 500 words back. It was, it's a competition that I'm sure many of your viewers and listeners will be familiar with, Mark. But it's been off for 3 years now. So yeah, we brought it back for 2023, and it is a competition where kids can send in a 500-word story, and whether you like it or not, it's not going to be judged on spelling, punctuation, and grammar. It's going to be judged on the narrative. It's going to be judged on the creativity. And so it's a kind of really amazing opportunity to let imaginations run wild. We've got two categories. Before, I think there was only one, but there's two categories now. So it's basically Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. It's those age groups, and at the younger end, they can. If a 5-year-old's not capable of actually writing a story, we ask for them to be done on a word processor rather than written with a pen. But if a 5-year-old's not capable of doing that, then they can narrate one, and an adult can write it, and it can be sent in that way. So it's a great opportunity. It's open for another few weeks. 10th of November, I believe, is the deadline for entries on 500 words. So yeah, it's an exciting opportunity, and there's some cool prizes at the end of it as well. So definitely have a Google of 500 words and check out the information. We recently produced a 500 words live lesson, Mark. So that's a half-hour program which schools were able to tune into live, and we had the judges. Who are actually judging these stories. So Mallory Blackman's involved, Francesca Simon, Frank Cottrell Boyce, Charlie Higson as well. Those kind of main judges of the competition were all involved in the live lesson, offering tips on what they'd do to develop a character. What's characterization? How do you come up with a killer ending? All these kind of things to make your story amazing. So that was a lot of fun to kind of uh, have that live lesson and hear from those experts.
And is it going to sort of culminate in the same kind of way of having those sort of judges read some of them out and sort of have a sort of a final extravaganza?
Yeah, there'll be some sort of program. I'm not quite sure how much is kind of out there at the moment, but yeah, there will be a program where some of the top stories will be read, and there'll obviously be winners as well in each category. And there's a really amazing chance to go and meet some pretty famous and special people as part of that prize as well.
Fantastic. And I love the fact that it's about the creativity, and I think that's such a breath of fresh air. Like say, it's not about the spelling and the sentences, it's about getting the imagination going, it's about getting your creativity going and just being able to share something in a way that you can. And I think that's a really sort of good sort of way of looking going forward, because I think one of the things we realize is it's so much in education is going to be about that, being able to share your thoughts and your creativity and working together, and in whichever way that works for you, whether it's written, whether it's visual like this, or whether it's oral or radio or whatever it happens to be. And I think from a sort of initial young age to just feel like whatever platform works for you to get across the things you want to share, I think that's it's a very special thing to be able to do.
Yeah, it's expression for sure. It's a chance to express yourself, and it can be, if it can be fitted into any topic that's kind of capturing the imagination at the moment in your class. If you're studying Romans or whatever it is, or Mark, your music. You could fit a story around any of these things that you love and that you're studying anyway. So it's a great opportunity to expand on that.
Fantastic. Well, that was a fantastic segue from a Roman point of view, because that's where we were going to be heading. So take us into these live lessons and what people can find out about this.
Yeah, so I mean, I said that BBC Teach at its core is really video content for the classroom, and we see it as a teacher being there and mediating that process, and we see it as a kind of shared classroom experience, all sat around the telly in the old days. And live lessons is one of the kind of ways that we do that. So these are half-hour broadcasts. You can watch them on CBBC, or you can stream them from the BBC Teach website. They're all available to catch up afterwards, because obviously, if it's broadcast at a certain time, it might not work for you. We tend to center them around key moments. So early next month, we've got a special coming up for Remembrance from the Imperial War Museum North, where the newsround presenters will be hosting that one. We've got an anti-bullying week program coming up as well in early November. World Book Day is always a very popular one. And this one here that you can see, this is Ben Shires, our presenter, and Raksha Dave, who is from Time Team fame and kind of a, a very famous archaeologist in the archaeology world. She chairs the Society of Young Archaeologists, and these guys were hosting our Romans program. So we went to Vindolanda, the Roman fort up in Northumberland, and got stuck in with some digs. And it's a bit of a history mystery. That's what we're calling it. So they're up there trying to solve a history mystery about kind of ordinary Romans, really everyday Roman life, whether that's a soldier or a kid or whoever. And they find some clues and they have to figure it all out. So yeah, it's a really exciting one, and it's airing later in November. So I'm looking forward to getting that out there and sort of seeing what primary schools think of that. Because like I said, often with live lessons, we kind of pin them around a special day. So if that's World Book Day or Anti-Bullying Week or whatever, but this one, like we know, we know it's a kind of popular topic. We know that it captures the imaginations of pupils. So we're putting it out there, and hopefully people watch it. Hopefully people use it. But yeah, we'll see.
Fantastic. And how does it fit in with the animations? We've got a few here that we're gonna share. How do the sort of the two things work together?
Yeah, so like I said, Teach is about video content. So the half-hour live lessons are one of them, but also we have what we call class clips. So these are much shorter video episodes. So they're kind of 4 or 5 minutes long. And we've just released a new collection, which is this animated series all about the Romans. So it looks at life in Roman Britain, it looks at the Roman Empire, it looks at kind of key topics, but it also has some narrative episodes. So one following children as they head into school, for example. So we've got these really lovely animations all about the Romans, which are there. They're in those kind of 4 or 5 minute chunks available to kind of pick up and drop at any moment on the BBC Teach website. But we've kind of fed some of those into the live lesson as well to illustrate the point. So where we're talking about, where we're kind of setting the context, the expansion of the Roman Empire, or we're saying we're up here in Northumberland, it's by Hadrian's Wall, then we're kind of using some of those animations to illustrate the point, rather than just seeing I guess, what is now quite a small wall. We're able to show an
Yeah,
animated
yeah.
version as well.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. I really like that sort of combination of things, and like I say, there's something very special in that sort of live lesson way. We're talking about sort of digging, and here they are in a dig doing that. It's
Yeah.
so then I think that sort of interaction and the fact that it's there for you as a child as part of what you're studying. It's like I say, it's very different than the old school of sort of just reading about it in a book or talking about it and then moving on to the next thing. And I think that interaction is something which is such a great thing for young people who are learning now.
Yeah, I think what's really nice about live lessons at the moment is that we do some from a studio, and obviously sometimes you have to make things in a TV studio, but more and more we're trying to take them out and about and kind of give a bit of a virtual school trip. So we're at Vindolanda for that one, and not everyone's going to get to go on a trip to Vindolanda, so hopefully we can give you that experience. And similarly, when we were doing the 500 words episode I mentioned earlier, we were at the Story Museum in Oxford, and we were able to explore that and kind of give some kind of different inspiration around the museum there. I mentioned Remembrance will be at the Imperial War Museum for that one. So, hopefully it gives a sense of a bit of a school trip, something that fits with the topic and is educationally relevant as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So we have a couple of comments and a question here, which I think is going to be really helpful. As I mentioned at the
Cool.
beginning, there, thank you to Nate for being here and sharing your support. I really do appreciate it. So Anna said, "How can teachers feed in ideas to BBC Teach?"
Yeah, it's really helpful and really important. It's a good question, Anna. So we are on social media, so Twitter, X, I should say, and Facebook. We have at I think we're at BBC Teach on Facebook and at _ BBC Teach on Twitter. We also have an email address on the BBC Teach website, which helpfully is teach.bbc@bbc.co.uk. That's teach.bbc@bbc.co.uk. So it's the other way around. Find me, get in touch with me. We do rely on, like I said, real teachers to tell us what's needed in the classroom, what's working in the classroom. If there's curriculum changes coming up, if there's a particular area that you're struggling to teach, we really do. We really do rely on teachers to kind of feed into those ideas, and where we might have a project that we're going to embark on, then we'll go and find that and set up the research and speak to people. But it can also happen the other way around. Projects have come off, taken off because someone's reached out to us with an idea as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So you mentioned things which are coming up. This is a project I know that people, it's such an amazing opportunity which people may not have
Yeah.
come across. So take us through the micro bit.
Yeah, Microbit is another brilliant project that we're hosting on BBC Teach at the moment. It's again a bit of a return. You know, you might remember the first generation of Microbits from a few years ago. Well, we're calling this one the next gen because it is the next gen, and we've got some Microbits. You can see there that is the Microbit, the kind of small handheld computer device. It's fully programmable via the link to the computer there, and we've got resources on BBC Teach to support that, but most excitingly, we've got a way for you to get your hands on these for free. So you can head to the BBC Teach website and you can register. The deadline is 18th of December this year, and between then and sort of mid-February, we'll be posting these out. And you know, we've got enough for every primary school in the classroom to have a set of 30. So a classroom set of 30. There's enough for everyone. Please do register and get it because it's completely free. We'll post it to you, and we've got those resources on the website to support it. Um, and the Microbit, as you know, is part of well, as you might know, is part of the Microbit Foundation. There's loads of amazing organisations involved in that, and they've all got their own resources as well. So, you know, we've got a starting point on Teach. We can send you this device for free. Hopefully, create some smiles like these here in classrooms across the country. But there's so much to go off after that. There's so many ideas from different organisations, and just basically infinite number of ways it can be programmed as well, and can feed into any topic, any lesson, and hopefully inspire some coders of the future as well.
Fantastic, and you can see there you've got the website that can take you through and start that journey, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Brilliant. Hi, Mike. Thank you. I thought it probably was you, but I thought just before I started calling you by name, I just so thanks for bringing it up and clarifying that. That's fantastic. So we should probably talk about Shakespeare, because I know there's an anniversary coming up, and I know that's something the BBC are very much um, involved in and part of. So talk us sort of through this to begin with, and how exactly you're going to be involved in it.
Yeah, sure. So it is as it says there, the 400th anniversary this year of the first folio. So that was actually published a few years after Shakespeare's death. And you know, thank goodness someone put that together and published it basically. But across the BBC, we've got some fantastic things like you know, you got some highlights here, as you might expect. You know, Dame Helen Mirren's involved. There's going to be BBC Two broadcasts. There's going to be radio plays. And at the end there, you can see BBC Teach has a new animation of Romeo and Juliet as well, which is a kind of a bridge suitable for primary schools. Well, we're saying for Key Stage 2, upper Key Stage 2, really, animation of Romeo and Juliet. So it's in 9 parts. Each of those is 4 or 5 minutes, so you can break that up however you like, and it tells the story. Sort of partly in original language, but partly modernized as well. Um, and you know, it's obviously an incredible story. It's obviously incredibly challenging in many ways as well, as these stills are hinting at. But we've got a great pack online in terms of William Shakespeare. We've got kind of really comprehensive notes for teachers. We've got a really nice cut out and keep name the characters. We've got a slate with all the characters, and you can write their names in and keep track of who's in whose family. We've got a sequencing activity where we've got stills like this from the play, and those can be put in number order. So we've got the core video animations, which can be watched and enjoyed in the classroom, but we've also got some really great ideas for continuing that afterwards. Um, yeah, I mean, like I say, it's a pan BBC season. How nominal this kind of November date is of the anniversary of the folio, I don't know if anyone knows whether it was actually published in November, but you know, it's a really nice opportunity to revisit some of our Shakespeare resources as well. We've got a lot online already, as you might expect from primary or
Yeah.
secondary schools, but this is a brand new offer. So really pleased to get that out there and be part of the season. Really, it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing, and as we can sort of see from the animations there, it's so well done, and I love that sort of ongoing sort of theme, like you say, because that went across the same from the Romans as well. It's sort of there's sort of a familiar feeling, which is really fantastic in terms of what people are getting used to from that sort of BBC Teach feel, I guess, and I guess that's something you can just expand as you're adding more stuff to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know you're going to get kind of high quality video resource from us. It's going to be accurate. It's going to be appropriate. We always advise definitely watch it, definitely check it out, check it's right for your cohort. Romeo and Juliet has very challenging themes in it. We've worked really hard to make that age appropriate, but we always advise with any of our videos, check it out first. But yeah, certainly we like to think that there's a level of trust there. It's going to be accurate, and it's going to be appropriate for your cohort.
Fantastic. And just a reminder to everyone watching, if you do have a question or you've got a follow-up or something this has sort of triggered something for you, do please just write it in the comments, and we'll bring it up and we can sort of answer it as best we can, or at least sort of discuss around it. This is hopefully a kind of a way of bringing our community together, and having this opportunity, which is sort of slightly different in the podcast. And the thing which I'm loving about today, of course, is being able to share all of these visuals, from the animations, and we're going to have some video soon, and it's just a great way to kind of really sort of broaden out what we can share from an audio podcast into this sort of new video format as well. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So let's talk Beano. Because when I heard about this was going on, I mean, how did that come about, and what was it sort of the launch pad for that?
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes when our colleagues at the Beano talk about this, they say that we reached out to them, and sometimes when we say I don't know who reached out to who first. It was kind of 2020, it was the pandemic, it was dark times, and one way or another, we reached out to each other and talked about doing a partnership, because like we all know the Beano is fantastic. They've just celebrated a big anniversary. They've been going years and years. We all know the BBC, also fantastic, also be going years and years. And we really wanted to harness the comic creatives at Beano and kind of create some video content that could then be used in the classroom and hopefully inspire some kind of comic creations in the classroom. So yeah, we've created alongside Beano these videos. They're all about how to create comic characters. They're all about how to create comic stories. A bit like 500 words. The learning isn't that different. It's about characterization, this time in visual form. It's about creating a narrative. This time you're restricted even less than 500 words, because you've got kind of a number of slates and not very many words that you can fit in. And creating a setting and a world for your narrative. So yeah, really exciting resources. A bit like with Romeo and Juliet, we're offering a bit more than the videos as well. So we've got a kind of template where you've got your comic slate and you can kind of fill it in the classroom. We've got some ideas for kind of different head shapes for your comic character and things like that. But what's really cool about these is the guys from the Beano, so led by Mike, who is the director of Mischief at the Beano. He's an incredible guy. He is just full of enthusiasm, infectious enthusiasm, and him and his team are taking you through how to create your own comic, basically. And again, you could pin that to any topic you like, couldn't you? If you're studying the Romans, if you're studying Romeo and Juliet, you can create the comic and kind of build it around that. So it was an exciting opportunity, and whoever approached who first, it's happened, and now it's available for free on the BBC Teach
Brilliant,
website.
Fantastic. Well, you set that up brilliantly. So we've got 3 short videos that we want to share, because that will give you a real sort of idea of how it comes through.
My name's Mike, and I'm Director of Mischief at Beano. And this is Ed. Ed is an artist.
Hi, I'm Ed, and I draw characters and backgrounds in comic books. And anyone can do this. You don't have to be a comic book artist to draw a comic book character. In fact, it's better if you do it in your own style. Start with a head shape. It could be a circle, a triangle, it could be spiky.
I know! What about a fried egg? The technical word for this is an onomatopoeia, when the word is written to sound like the noise.
Tick-tock.
Yes, exactly! The tick-tock, tick-tock sound of the clock. Well, that's a sound that got turned into a word. We don't even have to use words that already exist. We can invent new words. That sounded like it made a thunk sound to me. Writing a story is a bit like climbing a mountain. At the beginning, we introduce characters and location, but you also need an exciting start to catch the reader's attention.
Remember to keep the first sentence short.
Now we're on our way up the hill. We're in the middle of the story. As we're climbing, something happens to the character. What do you want to happen to your character?
Have they had an accident? Encountered a villain?
Now we're at the top of the hill. The top of the peak where I am is a dramatic event for the character to overcome. Now we have to find our way down the hill. This is where we look for our solution. As we approach the bottom of the hill, what type of ending do we hope to find?
Happy? Sad? Twist? Mysterious?
Or even cliffhanger!
They really are a lot of fun, aren't they?
Yeah, you've got a bit of everything there, haven't you? Like, art and design at the beginning, and you could set that up with, with younger people. You could give them a stick figure outline, and it could be expand on that, or they can have literally a blank slate. And then, we've got a bit of spag in there with onomatopoeia and story mountain. I'm sure everyone's already created a story mountain a million times before, but quite an exciting way of portraying it. And I really like that Beano aesthetic as well, where you've got, the hot air balloon with the plaster covering a hole in it up in the sky. So yeah, they are. I mean, you put it well. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a comment here from Mike again. So there, it says his grandson does stop motion videos on YouTube at the age of 11. Has the BBC Teach thought about a series on video production for young children around Key Stage 2?
Yeah, I mean, what a question. It feels like we're the right place to come for that kind of thing. I mean, like it's incredible, isn't it? At age 11 now, pupils have access to technology now, which is unbelievable in terms of being able to produce their own video content. So yeah, I mean, great question. We have a project which is actually more for secondary schools, which makes me think, if we've got 11-year-olds interested, maybe we should be looking at aging that down a little bit as well and looking at primary. But we have a project called Young Reporter, which is part of BBC Teach as well, and that's a project where it's more journalism focused. It's about coming up with a local news story and kind of telling a story that's important to you and your local community. But the way that's communicated could be any way. Like, it could be a radio report, it could be written journalism, it could be an audio report, a video report, whatever. So that could be an interesting way of exploring that. We've got some art and design videos which do have a little bit on stop motion. We do have one video. So yeah, I think it's it's incredible that 11-year-olds can probably make better videos than we can. And yeah, I'd like to think there's something on BBC Teach that can support that. I think we do have a stop motion video. I think we do.
Oh, well, there you go, Mike. You can have a look and see if you can find something in the archive. And as we mentioned before, there's always getting in touch via the social media channels and suggesting something specific if he has something which he really wants to do. And it also
get
just
in
reminds
touch,
me.
Mike, because sorry to interrupt, Mark, but I'm sure we've got a stop motion video, so I can throw a link in the chat or however that's best communicated.
Yeah, great. Let me know, and I can add it to another stream and do that. And it does just remind me that our son, I think it was towards the end of primary school, because they were doing what was it? They were doing the Tempest, and he was loving the computer, having the idea of being able to want to do it, and so they decided they were going to have some graphics and stuff behind. And he sort of created all that, and I can't even remember what program it was now, but there was just something about that. It was related to school. It was a passion that he was involved in at the time. He hadn't quite got caught in that I have to do it a certain way, and was just learning stuff in whichever way that he could. And it's really brilliant to be able to see that and to be able to sort of see that going. And then, like I say, if you know where there's the ability to be able to say find out more, like say in a safe environment, then that's really, really, really good. So yeah, good. I'm glad that's gonna work for you, Mike. That's some fantastic, brilliant stuff. And Alex has put that in the chat. Let me just see if I can bring that up.
Yeah, I found one for you, a video with about stop motion animation.
Fantastic. Let me just bear with me for a second, because I think I may well be able to bring that up onto screen now, and then that way I'll be able to share it straight away. He says trying to do this on the fly when it's live.
I admire this, like just doing it on the fly.
Let's give it a go. Well. We've got the opportunity on, and see if I can make this work.
It's part of an art and design series that that we created, and it is about expression in different forms. So there's one which is about costume design. There's one about creating a cake sculpture, and there's one which the one I've shared is about stop motion animation. So they're all kind of, they're for primary, they're for Key Stage 2, and they all feature someone who's doing it for real. So there's kind of a bit of a careers element in there as well, which I really love, because you're showing someone doing this for real as a career. Like the stop motion animation, like that's genuinely a real career option. So yeah, they're really inspiring in that way.
Fantastic. Well, there's the link there, Mike. If you can see it, you might better copy and paste it when you go back. Obviously, the replay will be here as soon as we finished as well. And if you haven't got it, you can always just drop me an email, and I can send it to you directly as well. But as we had it there in real time, I thought we'd give it a go, do some real production in real life as we're heading through. Fantastic. Well, that's amazing that we've covered so many things. It is just an incredible opportunity to be able to bring those things to you in a way that we can't do on the podcast normally, so I'm really thrilled that we've been able to make that happen today. I really appreciate your time on this, Alex. Is there anything else that you want to share that we haven't covered so far, just before we say goodbye?
No, well, do you know what? One little surprise for you, Mark. We're working on a project at the moment at BBC Teach with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra, and I know you love your music, and I know that you're a brilliant percussionist as well. And obviously, musical storytelling is like a tried and tested thing in primary schools, like especially with younger kids. And so yeah, we've been working on these stories with CBeebies and the BBC Philharmonic, and we've got from the 27th of November some really beautifully animated stories, but also we've got the real Philharmonic musicians involved in that as well. So we've got 10 stories. 5 of them are traditional tales, as you might say, your Jack and your Beanstalks, Three Little Pigs, and then 5 of them are from different places around the world. So we've got an Anansi story, we've got the story of the Great Race, about how the Chinese zodiac wheel was formed, and each one has 2 or 3 Philharmonic musicians in, and a few special guest musicians as well. We tell the story, we've got animation, you find out a bit about the instrument, and we've got brilliant packs on BBC Teach to support those and kind of use the music education as a lifting off point. So I'll be keen to share those with you when the time comes, and would love to hear your thoughts as someone that does a lot of music education.
Absolutely. I mean, that'd be fantastic. Paul Turner, who's the principal timpanist of the Philharmonic, was my pre-music college teacher. So I have a very affinity. I've been lucky enough to play with them a couple of times, which has always been amazing as well. So yeah, I really look forward to how that kind of works and comes through. And that's Mike just responding, saying, great. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. Just before we go, if anyone does have another comment, do stick that in the chat now, and then we can bring that just before we say goodbye to Alex. I'll just give you another moment or two before we do that. So in terms of people who haven't necessarily utilized BBC Teach before, they sort of know about it and sort of they're aware of it, is there kind of a way that you see people using it, or is it just literally aiming for a topic that they might be looking for support with?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question, because like the website is huge. Like there's a lot of stuff there, and we do appreciate that sometimes it can feel like a bit of a maze. We are planning a bit of a reorganization of that in the spring term, so you might have to put up with it for a few more months. But yeah, I mean, if you just go to the BBC Teach homepage, you'll find links to the microbit and 500 words. So those 2 projects for Key Stage 2, they're really prominent on the website. You can't miss them. And we'll always put our latest thing right at the top there. So at the moment, you've got that 500 words live lesson that I spoke about earlier. And then just below, we've got a kind of topical rail on the website there. So we've got resources which we think are going to be interesting for the autumn term, some of which we've spoken about here. So we've got content for Black History Month at the moment, for example. We've got those Beano resources that we spoke about as well. We've got resources kind of brand new, which are more teacher training resources than classroom resources about supporting care experienced children as well. But if you're not looking for our selections, then I think the best thing to do is go to the website, hit primary or secondary, whichever one you're teaching, and then they're organised by subject and age group by there. So if you're looking for GCSE history, you can find it there, or if you're looking for Key Stage 1 art and design, then you can filter through that way as well.
Fantastic. That's really, really helpful. And yeah, just before we go, Anna, thank you so much indeed for being here and supporting
Cheers,
the show.
Anna.
I really appreciate you being an integral part of setting this up, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you so much indeed for that. And I guess we're just one sort of final really ability to say, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, and giving us the permission to put all this together and to be able to share it with people. And thanks for those you've been here live and watching and being involved. That's fantastic. I know so many more people will be able to come and watch on the replay. The video obviously will be on the channel from now on in, so hopefully they'll get all the extra value and everything as well. So yeah, so it's really, really good.
Awesome.
So just before we go, thank you very much. Love Ed Tech. Great to have that for a comment. I really do appreciate you being here. And there's Mike. Oh, fantastic. He's going to help support it as well and try and share some of those things coming through as well. So yeah, absolutely brilliant.
That's fab. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Alex. This is, as we've been talking about, if you go to bbc.co.uk/teach, that's going to certainly get you in the right area to then, like I say, to be able to explore more and give you the opportunity to really, really make a difference. And like we say, go one step further than the TV with the wooden box around it for my day to kind of make it that kind of really sort of modern way of doing it as well. And yeah, really do appreciate that. And just before you go, Alex, I'll just bring Olga's comment up as well. You're very welcome, and thank you for your support as well, Olga. Really, really do appreciate you spending the time to help put all of this together. So just before we go, we do want to share a archive podcast as well, and I thought this was one which would probably be very apt in terms of the conversation I had with Andrew, so only back in episode 340, but this is a bit more in depth, not just talking about BBC teaching. I think we covered bite size and a few things in there as well, but also he had we sort of went into a little bit more of a personal journey in terms of his passion for education in children and why he's sort of a real advocate for kind of just following your passion and following your next step, which enabled him to get to his job there of head of content and commissioning. So I really do hope you get the opportunity to go back and listen to that, and I'm really enjoying sort of being able to share some of these things in case you haven't come to the podcast before and listened to all of them since the beginning. Just gives you a chance to kind of pick and choose one of the two things which you might find interesting and relevant to what we've been doing. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and taking part in this. Please do share it with anyone that you know, a colleague, family member that you think will find this interesting and supportive. If you think back to all the things we've spoken about in terms of the live lessons, the 500 words, the microbit, there's so many things which could be advantageous to children in your life, whether it's your own children or within a school environment. So yeah, thank you so much indeed, and I really appreciate you spending time with me, and we'll see you again next Tuesday at 7:30.